the Live and Create podcast.
Right on. Are you performing live, or is it primarily studio work for you now? What's that look like?
It's a mixture of both, but yeah, I've got a show tomorrow, just, kind of playing live when it makes sense and when good shows come my way, but not actively like booking or trying to make it happen.
Right. So playing live when it makes sense. I love hearing that. So my band, Run With It, we've done the touring thing, done all that. And we've actually just stepped back to where live is actually the last component of our strategy. We've kind of flipped the script where we started with live and now we're doing, basically our strategy right now is just song by song, post by post, and then city by city is how we kind of flipped it around, where we started the opposite way. And that's a conversation we've had a lot of, is this concept of when it makes sense. Now, solo, I perform all the time because I'm just doing covers and it's like my mercenary gig. And I'm like, I'm making that money doing that thing. But for the project, it's like, okay, it's got to make sense. So I'm curious for you though, what does that mean? What's your definition of makes sense?
I mean, unfortunately, it's when it doesn't cost me too much money to play.
Amen.
Because, because I'm in the situation where, like KATZROAR is my project and it is a band, but I'm the one that funds it, that manages it, that all of that. And so it literally costs me more money to play sometimes than I make. And, it's more about, am I going to break even on this show? Is it a good opportunity? Am I opening for someone bigger? Is it in a city or a place that I want to play? And, I think that that's why I'm not actively booking things on my own, because then it definitely would be costing me more. But, I play maybe once a month or something. Like tomorrow, we're opening for a comedy show in LA, but
Nice.
it's the organization Jam in the Van. They do comedy shows and they do music. And, in exchange for opening tomorrow for no pay, we're getting a Jam in the Van session.
There you go. Which from that standpoint, that is high value though.
Yeah.
Like a high value trade in that regard. I love that. Are you familiar with the band Hembry at all?
No.
Because I feel like they're out in LA and they do a lot of that kind of stuff. In fact, I feel like I just saw, or maybe they were doing like Netflix as a joke or something. They were doing some kind of comedy thing out there, but they're originally KC. I was just curious if you knew them. Yeah, like doing that trades. A lot of people don't understand that, I think. And unless you're in the band world, that the touring, especially as an original act, it often costs people as they're going out there. Have you seen a lot of this conversation? I think it's the Blue Dot something. Are you familiar with that? With all the ticket sales, like Ticketmaster,
no,
what do they call it? It's like Blue Dot something.
Yeah, I know all that controversy. Yeah, for sure.
And everybody's canceling. Like even the big artists are canceling all their shows, which boo-hoo. If you got $1,000 tickets, we don't really feel sorry for you in that regard.
Totally. But yeah, a lot of artists are like, they come out, like big artists come out of tour in the red. And so just playing live and the touring industry has flipped too far in the other direction where you really don't make any money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's when it makes sense, when I can like hopefully at least break even or make money, but I'm also focusing more on just playing in my area, in my town, I live in LA, but Southern California, and a couple weeks ago we played Pappy and Harriet's, which is like a really legendary venue, like out in the desert. And that was amazing because it's not oversaturated like LA. It's like the one music venue that everyone in the desert goes out to. So that one, I'm like, okay, I just want to nurture my community at this point because I really do believe like the future of live music is in the community and in independent venues and not Ticketmaster and Live Nation and all of those things.
Well, and I love seeing what's going on with All American Rejects, where they're touring like house shows. It's amazing. I saw a clip of them. They were just here. I'm in the Midwest in Kansas City, and they were just out here at MU. And like, there's kids like climbing on roofs, like just trying to look over in the show. And it felt like, oh, damn, this might be breaking into something special, like something fresh for the rock world. It is very exciting. So that's cool. What spurred
Lost.
that for you? Was it just something you felt, or have you just been looking at the landscape and recognize like that's where things are going?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. You know, I've had this project for, I guess, like 6 years now. I'm not sure the exact number, but I've gone through different iterations of band members. I started the project in Oakland. I lived in Brooklyn and I was doing it there for a while. I moved back to Southern California, which is where I'm from. You know, through all that time, started playing more and more shows and then just kind of realizing like this isn't really I'm in a strange situation where I have a lot more luck in streaming, you know, like I
Yeah.
that makes money for
You
me.
seem to be
Playing
killing
live
it there.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not the normal story for people, but yeah, I think just watching the music industry fall apart before our eyes and seeing like I mean, the whole world changing rapidly right now. And it's kind of like reading the room. Like people want more intimate experiences. People want to feel like they know an artist. People don't want to pay or can't afford to pay $1,000 a ticket to go be a mile back from the stage, you know? In LA, it's also really beautiful. Like backyard shows are really popular here because we've got great weather and everyone's got a backyard. And so you see a lot
And
of
there's
these
not
little
enough room
music
inside the
collectives.
house, right? Is that the thing?
Exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on where you're at. A lot of like homes in LA are very sprawling, but it's just like you can fit 100 people in a backyard, you know?
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of cool music collectives popping up and hosting events like that on their own. I will say they're kind of tailored more towards like singer-songwriter because it's low lift tech-wise, you know, but there are um just a lot more of those independent opportunities, I think, that like makes sense. And it's more of what everyone wants right now, I think.
That's cool to hear that you're seeing that in LA as well. Like I've been watching that with the All American Rejects and just trying to keep tabs of it because we're exploring what city by city looks like for us long term. And yeah, it's I don't know, it's confirming. I feel like it's confirming some of the things spinning around in
Yeah.
my brain. On the streaming though, I want to hit streaming. I definitely want to talk about sync licensing as well. But starting with the streaming piece, what's your secret? Like you seem to be killing it. Its songs sound amazing, first off, but like,
Thank you.
was there some grand strategy for you, or did it just pop off because the shit was good?
Right time, right place is what I say. You know, I started this project in 2019 and, you know, wrote my first album, developed it with my band. We were about to start playing some gigs in Oakland where I lived at the time. We had a few gigs booked and then COVID hit. And so all the gigs got canceled.
Yep,
And like everyone
that was
knows,
a
our whole
painful time.
world flipped upside down. And so we did what all artists did at that time. We said, well, I'll record. So we recorded instead and released the album. And it was right time, right place because we were heavily inspired by Krungbin, which you can see now. Do you know the band Krungbin?
I'm not familiar. No,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah, yeah.
educate
So
me.
you should check them out. Yeah, and it's a
I'm gonna
weird
write.
name to
How
spell,
do you
but
even? Yeah, how do
yeah.
you spell that?
KHRUANGBIN.
That's not a word.
Krungbin. It's a
That's
Thai
not.
word.
That's definitely not a word at
It's
all.
it's a
No,
Thai
I'm just
word.
kidding.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
check them out. I'm
Um,
loving checking out new and fresh stuff right now. So it's perfect timing there
you've
too.
probably heard them. You've probably heard them. They had a really popular song with Leon Bridges called
Okay.
Texas Sun.
I may have heard that. So I love me some Leon Bridges.
So they were this was like 2019, 2020. They were starting to take off and they really inspired this new wave of live bands again, which you really see like now you see everywhere. And it's this it's just like the revival of like live music. Like growing up, I don't remember there being any like amazing guitar players, you know, like maybe I'd be like, oh, John Frusciante in Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, but it wasn't like there was a Jimi Hendrix or a
Yeah.
Santana or something like that. But Krungben it's an amazing trio that's like psychedelic rock. They made like psychedelic rock and live music cool again, I feel like. They're the first band in a really long time, I feel like, a modern contemporary band to get nominated for a Grammy in the last couple of years. Um, when we recorded our album in 2020 and when we were writing the album, we were heavily inspired by what they were doing. And so when we uploaded it, there was already a hunger in the algorithm for
People
more
are
of
like,
that
yes,
music.
another person like this. I love it. And start putting on playlists.
And there's another band, BALTHVS, BALTHVS.
Yeah, I saw that in your bio, and I wasn't familiar with them yet either. So.
Yeah. And they kind of do like a Colombian Latin inspired version of the same thing. And so
hell yeah.
Both of us kind of launched at the same time, and their careers just have blown off. I'm friends with them and their management team, and they've just done amazingly well. And so, yeah, I think there was a hunger in the world at the time for that kind of music. And so we were really lucky. And we also did do the dirty work of like researching playlists and pitching to playlists. So we did get landed on a few things like that, but that was like 5 years ago now. And so not everyone was doing that. I think in the last 5 years, the whole indie music scene and all of the Spotify strategy, it's like extremely oversaturated now. So like I said, right time for the genre, right place in terms of COVID. And I think everyone being at home listening to a lot of music, and right time and place for kind of being on the front end of the strategy that people tell you to do.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting though is it looks like you still have, what was it, like 200 something thousand monthly listeners, if I saw correctly. So what has helped you sustain that then? Because, you know, you and I both know in this industry, you can be right place, right time, but then shit can fall off real quick. You seem to be sustaining it. Any strategies there?
Yeah, consistently releasing. Like you really got to put out music. You got to put out a song once a month at least. Last year, I was putting about 2 songs a month.
Okay.
And also collaborations, because I recorded my second album with a new group of musicians in LA, planned that release, released that like rather quickly, like just kind of put out 3 singles and then boom, put the album out, maybe 4 singles. And then, but then alongside that, I was working on collaborations with other people constantly.
I saw some of those in there too on your list.
Yeah. So after the album came out, I just continued releasing 2 songs a month for the last like year and a half. And I released like 24 songs or something, 22 songs or something in 2025. You know, a couple of those were remixes and things as well. And then I released a remix October 1st. I didn't release anything else until January 1st. So I took 3 months off and my numbers dropped.
You're like, oh no, start crying. That's rough. That's cool though. That makes me feel good too. We just started back this past October, actually, doing once a month because I was tired of not releasing. And one, I got called out during one of our review sessions. Do you remember? I can't remember if you were in the one with Burt Blackerack, and he's the guest. He was actually on the podcast last week. And I told him this. I was like, you called me out for not releasing any music forever. He's like, your shit sounds good, but are you lazy? What's going on, man? But it feels so good. I love I want to start going more as we increase our processes. If I remember correctly, you're hiring out production though, right? Is that what you're doing? Or are you self-producing? What's that combo look like?
It's a mixture. So like I don't produce. I can record on my own. I do all the songwriting. I get the band together and stuff, but I typically am working with someone else that's doing the mix and the master. Sometimes that's someone that played on the record with me. Nice. Or sometimes that's me paying someone else who are also like friends and homies and people. So there's a person, Asaf Spector, who I've collaborated with a lot in the last couple of years. We just found each other on the internet. He lives in New York. There's a big, he's just totally it's a serendipitous connection. And then I hired him to do the mix and master on my second album. So nice. I do outsource that because I don't do it on my own.
No, that's cool. So with the releasing though, so you're saying albums, but you're also doing monthly or bi-monthly releases. Do you think in an album and then release monthly? Is that how you're doing it?
I think how I work, I write in albums. So like I've got my third album already written. The demos are all there. They're in a SoundCloud. I've been sitting on them for a
Love it.
while, but that album is done. I definitely write in terms of like a cohesive piece. But then the release, I'm hoping to record and release that starting like November. But in the meantime, the releases that I do, they're all collabs because I'm working with people that are producers. So I can just lay down a bass line and take a vocal take, send it to them. They finish it up adding drums or guitar or bass or whatever. I just did a EP with another band called Desert Friends. I've played a lot of that in the Sync group recently. And I just top lined tracks that they had already written. And then those all came out. But it was like a win-win for both of us because it's boosted their streaming numbers and like it's getting them in the algorithm. It allowed me to continue to put out fresh music. Me putting out those songs boosted the streams on all my other music.
Yeah.
And
That
then we played a
residual
show
effect is
together.
cool.
Yeah, and then we booked a show and played a show together that was like a great success. So I'm strategic about who I do collaborations with and like, is this something that's going to benefit? Is it something in it for all of us?
Yeah. Within all of this, where did the sync licensing pop up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of an interesting story with just my whole journey with KATZROAR because I started it, like I said, 2019, 2020. The original band broke up 2022, and then the project was on hiatus for a couple of years. And then when I brought it back, I had actually, so this is another thing that could technically maybe be a streaming strategy, but I don't recommend it to anyone. When the original band broke up, um, I'll just give the chisme, the gossip that it was my boyfriend at the time. We broke up.
Gotcha. That'll
And
do it.
I was so heartbroken. Yeah, I was so heartbroken. I took all the music down and our music was already popping off. It already had like
Okay.
90,000 monthly listeners. And when I decided to bring the project back because I actually found that some people saved the music and reposted it on YouTube and they put like KATZROAR unofficial. And there were comments from, I don't know, 5, 10 people that were like, oh my God, I miss this music so much. Like, thank you for
Dang.
putting it back up. And so I was like, damn, I just need to put this music back up. Like I had gotten through the heartbreak. And when I put it back up, I didn't know enough about the ISRC codes and all of that, but Spotify recognized the tracks
And it brings
and
it all
it
back.
came back up and all my monthly listeners came back. All the streaming stats came back. And I think that that tricked the algorithm in a certain way because for a year, it was like the music didn't exist. And then suddenly it was on thousands of playlists.
And like
in one day.
overnight, it was like, oh, let's go.
So for a year, the streaming numbers popped off. Like I had 1,000 monthly listeners at one point. One of my songs was getting
amazing.
like 40K streams a day. It was
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
But then I was, I actually have the story of like, I've never set out to start a music career. Music has always been my medicine. It's always just been like a deeply personal thing for me. I recorded and released an album because I knew I would regret it if I never did that before I died. But I never tried to start a music career. When I saw the momentum happening, it was kind of like, oh, well, damn, I need to show up and serve this thing because it's happening already.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
clear there are people who wanted it and connected with it.
right. And so then it was like, okay, well, how do I do a music career? And, I quickly was like, well, the thing that's working is streaming. So I got my act together, recorded an EP, started releasing it, started working on my next album, started doing all the collabs, releasing, started playing live more, got to open for BALTHVS, got to go on tour with this band Kerala Dust. Like some opportunities came through that were great, but I realized those weren't profitable. And so then I was like, well, yeah, the only thing that seems like I've been on this journey of like, how do I actually make this a sustainable career? It's sync licensing was just the thing that kept coming up to me. And I think I wrestled with it for like, 6 months of like, do I do this? How do I do this? Do I start like, is this worth it? Is it not? Just even trying to wrap my brain around like, what is this before I signed up for the Sync Alliance in December. And I was like, you know what? I just need to learn. I just need to get my head in the game. This is going to be the one thing that's going to get me exposure and money. That's pretty much what it came down to.
What have been some of the surprises since you stepped in and tried to explore the sync?
No, you're good. I think it's necessarily a surprise, but it's a lot of work. Like I didn't anticipate especially because I then had to go retroactively to all the music that I've been releasing and get my paperwork in order.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big learning curve for me. And like I said, I didn't start out trying to start a music career. So I was just like making music with my friends and putting out music because the streaming was working well. And then now it was like, oh, damn, like I need contracts. I need things in writing. Like I have to
Did
understand
you
the
have to
difference
help people get
between
their PROs together as well? Like that's what I ran into. Like some of the people I was working
currently
with did not have their stuff together, you know.
currently in that journey right now with some people. And yeah, like I won't be doing that again. Yeah, like I
But
think that
we didn't know.
yeah, and then, even just trying to understand for myself, like, the difference between, like, why a master split might be different than a songwriting split, and if I'm funding the whole thing, how much of it do I own? And, like, so a lot of things that were, like, kind of not fun and, like, the unsexy part of the music business, which is just, like, paperwork, And
Yeah.
so it's been a it's been a big growth edge to just understand how necessary all of that is, but I feel like I've really leveled up in terms of being, like, an entrepreneur and a businesswoman now, is, like, I don't need anyone to explain any of that to me. Now I've got at least 25 songs properly contracted, available and ready for sync, and I didn't have that 4 months ago?
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah, all the like I said, all the non-sexy stuff, it's just been wild. And then, yeah, tracing back, like there's people that I had fired from the band along the way that I had to go talk to, and be like,
Totally.
"Hey, how's it going? Can we get our PRO stuff together? Let's do this." Luckily, everybody else is like they're all full-time musicians as well, so they were like, "Okay, this is business. We need to work this out," and that's been really cool. In your bio, I want to jump back to sync in a minute though, but I just remembered it in your bio. You had mentioned something about being a witch and a muse or something. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Can you unpack that? What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, I approach music from a highly intuitive spiritual place. So I'm lucky that I sang in choir for like 10 years and got like a lot of basic music foundations built into me. But I really feel like when I write music, it's about encountering the mystery and encountering the divine and channeling and getting my ego out of the way and letting something else bigger come through and move me. Like I've done a lot of personal work to learn how to do that. Like I've done a lot of somatic work. I do a lot of work with tuning into the body and emotions and done a lot of healing and therapy. Like I knew growing up that all I wanted to do was music. And then like what happens for most people in my 20s, I gave it up and I was like, this isn't, realistic. There's nothing's ever really going to come of this because that's what everyone tells you. And as I started to get more in my body and get into more spiritual practices, I just started having these visions of making music again. And songs just started coming to me. And it was like I couldn't help but sing. And so it really feels like I think a lot of musicians feel this, that music comes from something much bigger than just you or I. It's like there's a wellspring of creativity and imagination that all of us have the capacity to tap into and feel. And I think when we can get our egos out of the way about this being mine and am I good enough and am I bad enough and learn how to open, like we can all receive just like beautiful creations. And we have to also have the skills in place to be able to
To
honor those
catch it.
visions that come to us.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that. To
yeah. Like if I didn't have
honor
all
the
the
vision. That's cool.
Yeah, because if I didn't have all the music experience I had in choir, I wouldn't know how to write a bass line or what key I'm in or how the rhythm is working, So you definitely
Mhm.
do need that. But I think a lot of musicians, they're all that. They're all technology and technique and craft and missing like it's an encounter with something bigger than us when we're creating something. And that's for all art making, I really think.
So do you see it in a sense almost like you're a conduit when you're writing?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
And when you say which, do you if this is wrong, please correct me. Is it almost like you're like conjuring up something? Is that where the term witch comes from? Like when it comes to creatively conjuring up something?
Totally. Well, and I think that, music is I think music is the original healing medicine. I think, before people were, maybe around the same time that people were, cultivating plants and learning that the things that we put in our body can heal our bodies. They were in drum circles, we were around fires, we were singing, we were dancing. And so I think music is medicine. And when, where the kind of like witch idea comes from is that I think all songs are spells. I think all songs are prayers. I think you're casting a spell over someone when you're writing a song, and you have to be really careful about what you're listening to. And most pop music, most things on the top 40 are kind of encouraging us to be in toxic relationships and to party and to, like lose ourselves. And so I really like this idea of like when I'm showing up to connect with this force that is bigger than me, what can I create that will help people connect more with themselves, connect more with others? I get the feedback a lot, which was never like my intention, but I get the feedback enough for it to be significant that my music helps people move through darkness. That listening to my music, though it's kind of psychedelic rock and it's groovy and it sounds good, it is also helping people feel their emotions and move through challenging, difficult times. And so that's where I feel like I'm kind of a witch. And I think the muse part is kind of like what you're saying about the conduit.
The conduit piece. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm kind of processing it. And like for me, I'm not like a spiritual person, if you will, but I think I hear it almost in an analogy way of like casting a spell. And like you said, almost like the responsibility that you have as an artist to do that. And even to my own point about not being spiritual, I think it's interesting the concept of a conduit, because when I do write, like in fact, the song we just released, I was sitting here at my keyboard and it's like words just fell out of my mouth and I didn't know how to explain
totally.
it. I sent the demo to my band. I was like, does this song even fucking make sense? And they were all like immediately, and most of the time they don't immediately love the things I send them like all the time. They all were like, yes. And there was just something about that song where it almost felt like I didn't write it. And so that's hearing you talk about
Totally.
that concept of being a conduit is interesting, and it just curious of where that comes from. But yeah, that really jumped out to me in that. And I don't think most people have that perspective, or at least they don't talk about it. So I thought that was really cool.
Totally. Yeah. I think that, like a lot of people are averse to spirituality, or because of religion and because of,
ruined by the organized religion piece.
Totally, totally. But the most spiritual experiences I've ever had is exactly what you described, that a song plopped into my body and came out my mouth or came out my fingers. And I can't tell you where it came from, but it feels like it was meant for me. And I have no choice but to be in devotion to it. Like those are the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. It's not about prayer with God, it's like music and nature, I feel like are the two things, and they support each other as well. But I think all artists are actually mystics without really knowing it. Like that we're encountering the mystery of creation when we're sitting down to make a song or make a painting or write a book or whatever it is.
And it's funny because you literally just said almost the lyrics of that song that I was telling you about, because that's what like poured out was like, I can't tell you why, who or what or where it came from. It's the levee, it's the lightning strike, it's the whole damn ocean. It's like it was almost, I don't know. It's just weird. I'm getting chills thinking about it. I was just recently, I saw Linkin Park with Emily as a lead singer, obviously, because I mean, it's been quite some time, but there was a moment being there, even though it was like huge ass arena, right? And it's like I was 12 rows back, and I had to leave because I was so overwhelmed by emotion. And it's just wild,
totally,
what music and the content of the music, like you said, like the responsibility of the spells that Linkin Park has casted, at least for me, got me through like almost killing myself, like in the past and from darkness. But yeah, the culmination of that moment for me, it was like 2 decades of listening to a band and seeing their exploration as artists And then knowing their story, even as they take a new chapter, it's like I couldn't even take it. I had to walk out and just like recover before going back in. And those, I can't explain that. I don't know what that is. But it's crazy that some of us get the opportunity to create that. And I don't know where I'm
Well,
going
I
with
think,
that, but
yeah,
that,
and yeah, well, no, I do. Like, I think that's the thing is that art is inherently healing. Art is inherently transformative and medicinal, and that is what we might say spirit is, or God, or whatever you want to call it. Like, we turn to spirit, we turn to God for healing a lot of times, but I can't tell you how many times, like, I've heard a song for the first time and it brings me to tears and helps me move through something that years of therapy never helped me process, like, and so music does have this power. And that's where I think that we do have a responsibility, to create those experiences for ourselves, to write the songs that are medicine for us, and then to trust that it will also do the same for other people.
yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting as I look at what you're accomplished. Sorry, I had to turn my mic off for a second. My dog
No,
was
you're all good.
apparently protecting us from the mailman or something. Is the volume back in that regard?
Yeah, it's all
You can
good.
hear me okay? Okay, sweet. You had said something earlier about pop music. I love pop music. I love a lot of the pop stuff out there.
Me
But I
too.
see what you're talking about, like content-wise. Like when I'm seeking healing, if you will, I go to like a Jason Isbell song that you won't hear. Like are you familiar with Jason Isbell at all? Like
Mm-mm, maybe if I
just
heard, yeah.
like an Americana songwriter, or Taylor Goldsmith, like in my opinion, two of the best like songwriters out there, but you won't hear that on the radio. But there's people who love it. I love his stuff. I've got to see him live, and the place is packed. Everyone's there for it. And I think that's the power of what we have right now as the music industry has been dismantled, as you brought up earlier as well, that you're not writing like to the base level, you're writing this exploration, this healing journey, and there's 28 million people, streaming it. And obviously there's people hungry for that. I think to me, that's
Mhm.
everyone talks about how it's such a shitty time for music. I actually think I'm very optimistic. Like there's challenges, but I'm optimistic because I'm like, well, here's this thing that's alive and finding its
Yeah.
people. When you look at the music industry right now, obviously we've talked about the live piece. What brings you hope?
Well, I think some of what you were just saying about the whole world is rapidly changing. I hate to even bring it up, but AI is changing everything. And a lot of people feel like that's going to ruin music as it is. And I feel the same as you. I feel like it is all the more better of a time to be so imperfectly human. It is
Yes.
exactly the perfect time. If you want to make music that is trendy or is streamable, or if you want to make music that is quote unquote successful, like, yeah, AI might beat you because it's appealing, like you said, to like the most base kind of part of us. But I think that's all going to get, and it already is, it's getting really, really boring. We don't want factory level creations. We don't want formulaic, algorithmic, play me what I want to hear. I think the more unique and vulnerable and authentic and messy and strange we can be right now, the better for our own original music. And I think that even with syncing, you know, and music in general, like it's always a question of like what makes something good music, right? Like what's the ineffable thing that makes something good versus something that's bad. And I truly believe it's where it came from in that person. That the good stuff always comes from somewhere really real inside of a person. It always comes from something that was extremely vulnerable. And the bad stuff comes from trying to make something that sounds like other things, or trying
Right.
to be something other than you are, or trying to be marketable. That doesn't mean that it doesn't get successful.
Hmm.
Sometimes the quote unquote empty stuff, the bad stuff, it does go places because it has, I think it's almost like it appeals to the dumbest part of ourselves. You know, it appeals to the most shallow part of
Well,
ourselves.
and there's shit like if I'm going out and going and like we're just gonna drink a bunch of shots with friends and go dancing and sing karaoke. It's like let's play,
Totally.
XYZ, and we're having fun. I'm not there to like engage. It's like the almost like candy, or like cake. It's like that shit's good, but if you ate it all the time, it's not gonna be really great for you in that regard. Yeah, it's interesting you say where it comes from in the person. Because one thing we're discovering as we're trying to figure out like social media is what people are really connecting with is all the behind the scenes stuff. Like people want to know the process behind it, which I find really interesting too. I've always found that interesting, but I felt like I was in the minority but now I'm seeing like it seems like the world at large wants to know where it is coming from. And maybe that is a reaction to the AI piece as well. I don't know. But I
Totally.
laughed when you said the imperfect pieces where I've caught myself now instead of tuning things so perfectly, like even when I'm in Melodyne, I take the time to line things up and get it all dialed in. But it's like I'm I'm doing a little less now because I'm like, there's something, okay, yeah, my voice cracked right there. Let's leave that in. Let's see AI do that, And
Totally.
even when I'm writing, like I'm like when I put out like, content, trying not to be because it's like people accuse you of using AI, and I'm like, well, shit, I'll just leave my misspelled word. I suck at spelling, so maybe I'll just leave that in so they know, like, hey, man, like this one I wrote. Anyways, what
Totally.
else brings you hope for the future in music as well?
Good question. I think there's also a big shift happening like away from major labels and away from that kind of like industry control. I think the future is, like I said, extremely human, extremely communal, like a smaller base, like more independent. I do feel empowered that I think the trend for sync licensing, I think middlemen are going to become less and less important, whether that's like the gatekeepers for live events, the gatekeepers for syncing. I think there's going to be a lot more power as artists to run our business and to do all the things ourselves. And obviously, we're already wearing a million hats, but we care about our art and our music so much. Like, I'll do anything for it. But I think that there's going to become less and less gatekeepers and more sovereignty and power in the hands of the artists for their creation and how they get to make money from it and where they get to put it. A lot more direct fan to artist connections. I think all of
Hmm.
those things are like upward trending.
That makes a lot of sense. Some of the people I follow online from like Nick D, you see Russ, Cameron Whitcomb's another one. Like all these folks have built this like kind of like an empire, and it's all independent. And like you said, they went direct to the fans to where some of like Nick D, if you're not familiar, are you familiar with Nick D at
Mm-mm,
all? Like
mm-mm.
he's a like rapper, singer, producer dude. Basically, he knew no one in the industry, and he was like breaking a million streams a month and shit like that. Like and starting to, like, and he didn't even want to
Totally.
tour, and it's been fascinating to hear his story and what he's grown, but it was all just like finding the people who love your stuff and then rocking with them. And to your point, even in the sync world, I've heard a lot of like music supervisors say that they're going on Spotify. Like even if they're at the gym, they're like, "Oh, that song's cool. It popped up in my algorithm. I'll put it on my list." Last week, Burt Blackrack, he's an incredible music supervisor, does big shit. I was like, "What do you suggest for a guy like me trying to get in?" And he's like, "Help us find you in the sense of like we're looking, so be something worthy of like being found." And I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And so he's looking and scouring that. Yeah, that is the opportunities of that are really, really cool. When it comes to like an artist who's just starting, right? They're just exploring writing, getting ready to maybe release their first song, go out where you were probably about what was that? You said 6 years ago with your project or a little longer. What would you suggest to them right now?
It's a good question. I think in terms of like releasing music, like just do it, just put it out there. Don't be too worried about the reception or the streams or the numbers. Like I think the most important part is just getting your reps in. and going through the process of putting music out and not being too, I always say to people, like, don't be too precious about it. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. Like, just put it out. I hate hearing about someone, and maybe this is my own bias, but I hate hearing about someone working on their album for 4 years. I'm just like, get it out.
That's when you
Because you're
said
going to be a
that.
completely different person.
I thought about a buddy of
Yeah,
mine who said, he was like, I've been working on my album for like 2.5 years. And it's like, and it's been 5 years since he said that. He's never released the album. He's doing other things, but that's his journey.
totally,
But I was like,
totally.
bro, just get out there.
Yeah, yeah. Don't be too precious and just put stuff out there. And then I think, yeah, for artists that are just beginning, like, it is important to connect with a community and find your people. Like, don't create in isolation. Like, have the collaborators that you need to create with, make friends with other bands to play shows with. I actually do like one-on-one creative mentoring for people. And like, I have a client right now she's 30 years old and she's just claiming her desire to sing. She's sang in some ways throughout her whole life, but never really like claimed like, yes, this is what I want to do. And a lot of what I'm doing is, yes, teaching her some of what I said about being a channel and a conduit and getting her in her body and learning how to connect with music in a really intuitive way, teaching her the basic foundations and fundamentals that she needs, but then also encouraging her to go to an open mic and to play with her friend who plays guitar and to make friends with other musicians. And like I don't know, some people do get by as like a solo bedroom producer in their room. And I just think that can eventually you're going to need other people. So like build your community, build your network, not just who your band is, but the bands you want to play with, and they end up being your fans too, like your friends and your fans, and build that network of people around you as well.
That's awesome. Well, since you coach other folks, I'm curious, what are some of the other things you have recognized that typically hold an artist back?
I mean, I think like making art and creativity in general is just one of the most vulnerable things you can do. And there are so many emotional blocks and traumas that get in the way of someone actually accessing and moving that through, like being able to do that for themselves. And like I say, like I do somatic work, I do embodiment work. Like I do feel like I am a witch in some ways, and I work on healing these things with people. And I can't tell you how many sessions I've had with people where they're accessing their desire to make music or create in some way. And the first few sessions, they're crying. They're releasing some trauma because their mom told them they sucked when they were 10, or they had an art teacher that shat on their project. There's so much that our world consistently is telling people that they're not good enough, that they won't ever be good enough, that their original ideas are crap. Like, just the world is not conducive towards being an authentic and freely creative person. And so there's a lot of healing work that you have to do to like make up for those wounds and those hurts that made you shut down your creative voice in the beginning. The way out is through at the same time. Like, you can go to therapy forever and talk about it and try to get that out of the way, but you also have to just kind of create and get messy and get scared. And like, I definitely had auditions growing up where like I felt like I bombed it and left the room crying. Like, we all have those experiences. And so I think being willing to be with the difficult emotions and the fear of claiming your voice is like step number one, and some of us are lucky enough that it wasn't as hard for others. But um if it's a desire and a dream that you have, like you have to show up for it. If it's something you've always felt your entire life, like it doesn't matter how old you are, you have to show up for it.
That's awesome. Oh, sorry. That's powerful too. Just that you saying the best way out is through, or the only way out is through. Is that, oh, who's that? It's a poet, blanking on his name right now. Robert Frost,
Probably
right?
Rumi.
Rumi.
Yeah,
I think that one's Robert Frost on that one. But yeah, I see that, even in my own self. It's like writer's block. It's like sit down and write, that fear, confront it, like walk through it. You're afraid of the dark, fucking go walk outside in the dark and find that. You said a
totally.
term earlier and you said it just now, somatic. And somatic work. I'm not familiar with what somatic work is.
Yeah,
Can you break that
somatic
down?
Somatic refers to the body. And so soma is like the root word of the body. And so have you seen anything or have you heard anything around like nervous system regulation or working? So it's learning how to work with the body and emotions as we feel them in the body and
Okay.
traumas as we feel them in the body. Like the body is actually a really intelligent recording device and it holds on to all of our memories and experiences and traumas and then informs how we move through our life based on those experiences to try and keep us safe. But so when I work with people in a somatic way, I can teach them how to access those feelings and where they're living in the body, like a feeling that's maybe blocking them from being creative. Where is that feeling in the body? What does it feel like? What emotion is it actually? Can we move towards expressing that emotion in some way, releasing the grief, releasing the fear through movement, through breath, through sound, and creating awareness around it so that it doesn't hold us back unconsciously anymore?
Yeah. So in a sense, like recognizing where it is in the body and finding that release, if I'm hearing you correctly,
Mhm.
like doing the work to find that. It is crazy too when you think about emotions, how it is just emotions, but it brings physical pain. It really does. And I remember through like in my
Totally.
20s, I went through heavy depression, OCD, all these kind of things, had to do a lot of work to go through that and to come out of that and seeing things of like my tongue would just start swelling. Like, and I'd go to the doctor and they're like, we have no idea why. And like over time, realizing it was actual like emotional shit that was causing like my tongue and my throat to swell. And I'm like, that is
Totally.
insane. Well, thank you for packing or unpacking that. Last two questions of the podcast based off of the title, Live and Create. Right now, how would you define living a great life?
That's a big one. I think living a great life comes down to finding, I mean, it probably is going to bleed into the create part as well, but
It often
finding the
does for a
thing
lot
that
of people.
moves you. Yeah. Yeah. Finding the thing that you can't help but do. Like finding the thing that you can't stop if you tried. Like I tried to quit music and I couldn't, like finding the thing that you you can't help but do, that you lose time of what when you do it, you daydream about it, you fantasize about it, like finding that obsession, finding that thing that you like really just cannot let go of and devoting yourself to it.
That's awesome. Like I very much relate to the trying to quit music. I've quit music twice in my life, in my adult life. And the last time is the second time where I went to buy into a friend's landscape company. So I was trying to learn that business. I was just leaving it all behind. And after about a year of it, I remember like a truck had broke down. I was sitting in a parking lot. I called my wife and I'm like, I can't do this shit. Like it's all shit. Like music is shit. But at least I like that shit, like
Right.
like tried so hard, and previously I tried to start a roofing company, not try, I did. And I was making good money, but it was just like something calling me back where, like you said, it almost wouldn't let me quit, even though I was like, no, that's the dumbest thing ever is to go back to music. It's so dumb. And then, here
Yeah.
I am years
Yeah.
and years
I
later.
had a friend say to me, I had a friend say to me once, life is full of suffering. Just choose what you suffer for.
Yes. And that's a much better way than my, revelation of life is shit and everything's shit. At
No,
least I
but it
enjoyed that
is. It
shit.
is. It is. It's all hard. It's all
Yeah.
hard. What are the things that are
Like
worth it
choose
being
your
hard?
hard. Yeah, choose the hard
Yeah.
that you actually want because it is just going to be hard. Yeah, no matter what. Well, last question. How would you define creating great things?
I think it comes back to that idea, and what I've touched on throughout this conversation is letting yourself be inspired and learning how to open to something bigger than yourself. Like there's a creative, generative force in the universe that makes trees grow and makes birds fly. And that energy is there for us to tap into and move with and to let animate us. So I think that creation really comes from recognizing like to be human is to be inherently creative. And it's so natural for us, just like breathing. And if you can let that like natural impulse guide you, if you can let yourself be moved by that thing, that is going to be a great thing.
That's awesome. Well, let folks know how they can stream your music and connect with you, maybe book you for a backyard show.
Yeah. Everything is at KATZROAR. So it's KATZROAR. And that's streaming, that's Instagram. If you are going to reach out via email and my website, that's Do the KATZROAR, DOTHEKATZROAR @gmail or .com.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for making the time today.
Yeah, thanks, Miguel. It was a great time.
The Live and Create podcast